After 2 years of scandals, investigations, leaks, and confrontations between the White House and Congress, the Watergate train reached its moment of truth. A moment when President Richard Nixon could no longer maneuver, justify, or escape. The moment of downfall. But downfall was not only the end. It was also the beginning of a new legacy in American and global political history. The smoking gun in the summer of 1974, the nation was boiling. The courts demanded the president hand over the recordings. Congress threatened impeachment, and the public was exhausted by excuses. On July 24, 1974, the Supreme Court unanimously ruled against Nixon and ordered him to deliver the tapes. There was no more escape. Days later, the June 23, 1972 tape was revealed, known today as the smoking gun. In it, Nixon is heard ordering his aide Haldeman to use the CIA to pressure the FBI into halting its Watergate investigation. It was direct proof of his involvement in obstructing justice. Even his closest allies could no longer defend him. Pressure from Congress and Republicans before the tape. Republicans were divided. Some believed in his innocence. Others remained silent. But after the tape, the wall collapsed. A delegation of senior Republicans visited the White House and told Nixon bluntly, "You no longer have enough support in Congress. If you continue, impeachment is inevitable." Here Nixon faced the hardest decision in his life. A man who built his career on victories, from Congress to the Senate, then vice president, then president, now stood at the edge of collapse. The resignation speech on August 8, 1974. Richard Nixon addressed the American people on television. Millions were watching. With a weary voice and pale face, he said, "I no longer have a strong enough base in Congress to justify continuing. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective tomorrow at noon." With these words, Nixon became the first U.S. president in history to resign. The next day, he left the White House with his wife, Pat, in what reporters described as the farewell of a broken man. But resignation did not close the Watergate file. Dozens of aides and campaign officials were tried. Among them Attorney General John Mitchell, senior aides Haldeman and Ehrlichman, and Charles Colson. They were convicted of crimes ranging from obstruction of justice to perjury, receiving prison sentences. In total, 48 people were found guilty of Watergate-related crimes. It was the largest political collapse in U.S. history. Days after the resignation, Vice President Gerald Ford assumed the presidency. On September 8, 1974, he announced a full pardon for Nixon. The decision ignited outrage. Many saw it as a betrayal of justice. But Ford insisted he wanted to heal the nation and avoid a trial that would divide America further. Politically, however, Ford paid the price, and historians agree. The pardon contributed to his election defeat in 1976. Watergate wasn't just a scandal. It was an earthquake. It reshaped the relationship between people, government, and media. Number 1. Trust in government. Before Watergate, 70% of Americans trusted their government. After, it dropped to less than 30%. It has never fully recovered. Number 2. The power of press. Investigative journalism, especially Woodward and Bernstein of the Washington Post, became a symbol of media's ability to hold power accountable. Number 3. New laws. Congress passed stricter campaign finance laws and the War Powers Act to limit presidential authority. The scandal's impact extended beyond America. Watergate became a global term. Political scandal worldwide adopted the suffix "gate." From Iran-gate under Reagan to Monica-gate under Clinton, the label stuck. Dictators and governments everywhere learned a lesson. Free media can bring down even the strongest rulers. Despite his downfall, Nixon never disappeared from history. He tried to rebuild his image as a foreign policy expert, wrote books, and gave interviews. Some still see him as a brilliant diplomat who opened relations with China and signed armed treaties with the USSR. But he can never escape the shadow of Watergate. Watergate was not just a break-in. It was a story of power, greed, lies, journalism, and the people. It showed that even the most powerful president could not fall because of small threads of truth. Democracy, though imperfect, proved capable of self-correction. Half a century later, Watergate still teaches a timeless lesson. Lies have short lives. But the truth, no matter how delayed, cannot be defeated.